So I've made $1 million by the age of 19 at around a 73% profit margin. And in this video, I want to share my lessons that I've learned along the way. Now, I do want to mention, by no means am I a life guru. I'm not trying to say that I've, made it, because quite frankly, I think $1 million is a very, very small number in comparison to what I do want to hit. So I'm very far away from my goals. And the other thing I want to mention is that everything that I've done well, right? All I've done is a few things well, and I've made a couple dollars doing it. But the things that I have done well, I've learned from other people. I've got no ego. I'm not trying to say that I know everything, because I don't, okay? And everything that I do know, I've learned from somebody else. So my goal with this video is just to pass on the lessons that I've learned in the hopes of me helping somebody else who, maybe you're just starting your journey as well. So I just want to pass on the lessons that I've learned myself by making my first $1 million by the age of 19, in the hopes that it will help you just like other people have helped me. So I am going to jump into some practical lessons, but the first thing that I've learned making $1 million is the fact that there is a tipping point in which money starts to not matter as much. This is something that really kind of hit me hard when I was at around like 300,000-400,000 a year. Up until that point, it was really amazing making all this money. The more money I made, the more happy I was, and so that really instilled the idea that money truly does buy happiness. And by the way, on this, I'm super curious to hear your thoughts. Make sure you comment below whether you personally believe money buys happiness or not. But I was always in the mindset that it did buy happiness, because I was experiencing it, right? The more money I made, the more happy I felt. But there was a tipping point, and that was, as I say, it's probably more around 400,000, 500,000 a year, I would say. There was a tipping point where it started to not matter as much. I started to not value it as much. I would have some of the biggest days in my business. I would sign, one of the biggest clients, because if you don't know me, I run a advertising agency. I actually run two advertising agencies. One is an e-commerce agency, and one is a lead generation agency. And then, given the success that we've had with the agency, I also show other people how to start and grow their own agency. And we've got nearly 1,000 customers, and to be honest, I would say one of the leading programs on earth for agency owners. So, I would have some huge days in my business, 10K days, 15K days, and like it's a huge day. But it got to a point where it didn't have any impact on me anymore. And I would tell, my parents, for example, I'm very, very close to my family, which I'm super blessed to be, because I know a lot of people aren't. I know a lot of people have terrible home lives and whatnot. I'm very blessed. I'm extremely close to my family. I tell them, oh yeah, I hit 10,000 today, or I had a 15K day yesterday, or a 20K day yesterday. My biggest single day was 27,500, I believe. And so I'd tell them that, yeah, like, look, yes, I made like 25 grand, and they would be super hyped for it. And they were like, why aren't you happy about it? And it started to make me think, there's a tipping point, and I definitely felt that tipping point. And I want to show you this study here. This was actually pulled, I'll be honest, this is pulled from a Patrick Bet-David video. He shared this article in one of his recent videos. I thought it was really good, and it really mirrored exactly how I felt. If we actually look at this graph here, it says money does buy happiness after all. And you can see here, the blue line is someone's perception of their life upon reflection. And then the white line here is a person's mood and feeling throughout the day. And you can see that as you make more money, your mood and feeling increases throughout your daily life, and so does your perception of your life upon reflection, right? It increases as you make more money. But there's a tipping point here. And this is exactly what I felt, right? You can see at 400,000 to 625,000 per year, it actually drops off. The perception increases, but the true daily mood, how you personally feel on a day-to-day basis, actually drops off. However, up until that point, every single increased bracket has actually also had an increase in your daily mood and feelings. And so that's just something I wanted to share, because that was one big thing that I realized in my own businesses. I just didn't feel as though I was getting happier as I made more past a certain point in my business. So I just think that's important to know and expect. It will keep going up. 0 to 10,000 a month, 0 to 20,000 a month, your entire life's going to change. I know it did for me. 0 to 10,000 a month, 10,000 to 20,000, 20,000 to 40,000. You just feel invincible. You feel like, oh my God, everything I'm doing is turning to money. Like, everything I touch is turning to money. Like, this is amazing. I can buy whatever I want. I can do this. I can, move out of my, for me personally, I was able to move out of my parents' house. I've moved right onto the beach, which is where this current apartment is. You know, I've got a beautiful car. Like, it's just amazing, right? You can buy whatever you want. I bought 2 Rolexes, but then you get to a point where that stuff gets boring, and you get to a point where you don't value that stuff anymore. Like now I don't cringe, but like now I just very much more value actually building things, which is another point that I'm going to get onto here in a minute in terms of the lessons that I've learned. So that was just something that I thought I would share because it's one of the big lessons that I learned when it comes to money and happiness. Now let's move on to a more practical kind of lesson that I've learned when it comes to scale. Now I say scale very hesitantly because personally for myself, I don't think I've scaled anything that I'm doing. You know, right now I'm probably sitting at around 150-ish, 175-ish per month consistently, right? 150,000 to around 175,000 per month consistently. I had one of my biggest months like 2 months ago. That was around 250,000 per month, or a 250,000 a month. But I'm pretty consistent around 150, 175 a month. And so I don't, again, in comparison to what I'm trying to achieve, you know, moving forward in my life, you know, $170,000 a month is really not a lot. And I don't say that in a way that's, you know, dripped in ego or anything like that. It's just genuinely what I personally want for my life. I haven't scratched the surface on it yet. So looking at that and looking at what I've done, I don't think I've scaled just yet. But what I do believe has the biggest impact in the tiny scale that I have done, because I have gone from, well, I've gone from technically 0 to 175,000 a month, which is pretty good. But I've also, you know, I was stagnant at around 30, 40, 50,000 a month for a very long time. I just, for some reason, I wasn't able to blast through that. It was almost like a glass ceiling. Everything that I was doing, I was scaling everything as much as I possibly could, quote unquote. And I just was not able to make more than like 50,000 a month, which was my best month, like, you know, 8-ish months ago. And so what enabled me to finally, eventually break through that 30, 40, 50 glass ceiling to now, as I say, around 150 to 170,000 a month, is removing myself as much as possible from operations, but increasing the output of each operation. What I mean by that is oftentimes you'll see people, they'll remove themselves, but then everything will decline because they're needed in each section. So for example, if you run an agency and you have a really good client acquisition system right now, but it involves you sending out Loom videos. And so you're very much capped because you know, you can only scale as far as you can invest time in that instance. And so then maybe you bring somebody outside in to send looms for you. And maybe previously you personally was getting around a 3% meet and book rate, but then somebody else comes in, now they're only getting a 1% meet and book rate. So yes, you've removed yourself, but the results aren't the same. So technically there's no point in you removing yourself because you're actually going to experience a decrease in your business's volume each and every month. Even though you've got more time on your hands, you're not making as much. You're not growing as much, right? And so that was a really big focus that I tripled down on, or it was a really big area that I tripled down on probably around 4 or 5 months ago. Removing myself from operations, but also ensuring that I'm putting better people in those positions than I am myself. So this applies to everything from, you know, team managing, right? Sales, service delivery, client acquisition, all these things. Instead of me focusing on client acquisition, instead of me focusing on service delivery or jumping on sales calls, my focus has now gone to finding the right people who can go into client acquisition and deliver better results than what I was currently getting. Cool, that's locked in. Now let's look at service delivery. Let's find a CMO. Let's find a really, really good team member who can deliver better results for our clients than I was able to previously. Same thing with sales. And so when I was able to do that, I was able to scale, quote unquote, a lot further because I was able to push the boundaries a lot higher and the output was even better. So not only was I able to push more volume because we now have a singular person for each section. You know, it's not me split over 5 areas. Now it's 5 people split over 5 areas. So they can go much deeper into that one area than I could because I could only spend 1/5 of my time in that one area. So I was strapped to how deep I could go. Now we've got each individual person who's able to go 100% into that area. So they're able to do more volume. They're able to push more volume. And also, again, as I said, because I focused on putting the right people in those areas, they are actually getting better conversion rates. They're actually delivering on a higher level, right, than I was. So now they're pushing more volume and delivering better results. And it was that enabled me to break through that glass ceiling and truly scale. So that's probably the biggest thing I've learned in regards to scale, because, you know, another big idea with scale that's super important is having a scalable product and having a product that, you know, is either mass market or it serves a small amount of people, but you charge high ticket for it, right? If you're not able to do one of those two things, it's very hard to scale a product or a service, right? With a service, you definitely want to go high ticket because you're naturally capped to the scale that you can achieve from a volume perspective. So those things I already had in place, but it was more the logistics of scaling that I found difficult. And as I say, that lesson that I learned really enabled me to break through, which is now why I was able to hit 150, 170-ish per month consistently. The next big lesson I learned, and I just see this time and time and time again in my own business, I see it from my competitors as well. One of the big reasons as to why I've been able to come into this industry pretty late on, I would say, when I first came into this industry, I was up against some really, really big people. And, I was up against some really, really big people who already had like 90% of the market share. And I was able to come in and really put up a fight against these competitors. And I think the biggest reason why, and this is, as I say, a lesson that's just been reinforced, it gets reinforced daily. And it's a cringy one, and you probably will click away from the video, but for those of you who stay, you'll hear why I say this, and it's just to become customer obsessed. I mean, focusing on the customer, honestly, is the best business strategy of all. Like, there is nothing more powerful than doing what's best for the customer every single day. Nothing more powerful. If you don't truly care for your customers' results, for your client results, you don't truly care for them, you're just not gonna scale. It's just not gonna happen, right? Yeah, you may be able to get to 10, 20,000 a month. Yeah, you may be able to do that, and that's cool. If you want to just do that, you can do that. But if you want to scale to 50,000, 80,000, 100,000, 500,000, which is where I want to go, 1 million a month, etc. You're just not going to be able to do that unless you provide a product or a service to a certain set of customers or clients that not only delivers on a higher level than your competitors, but also you genuinely achieve the dream outcomes that your customers and clients want. That is the biggest thing that I've focused on, and that is really why I'm able to be so consistent, and I've able to scale from 0 to, like I say, 150, let's just call it on the lower side, 150,000 a month in probably 2 years at this point, just under 2 years. I think it's like a year and 3 quarters or something like that. As you see on that Stripe screenshot, you can see the curve starting to kick up. I think it's around October of 2019. So October of this year will be officially 2 years. And in that time, we've gone from a 0 to 150,000 a month. And as I say, I would really, really dedicate a lot of that growth to the fact that I just genuinely care for my clients, for the agency, and my customers on the education side. And I care for their results. And that's why we've been able to get such good results, because I just do more. That's it. I do more. And when I hire for positions for the education side and the agency side, the biggest thing is client results. The biggest thing is customer results. I don't care if they have to spend an extra hour on a call with a customer or a client, on the bi-weekly check-in calls with a client, or if they have to write a piece of copy that takes them 4 hours. I don't care. I'll pay for your time doing that. Do what's in the best interest for the client. Do what's in the best interest for the customer. Genuinely care. If you jump on a sales call, again, this goes back to the idea of me hiring for sales, for example. If somebody jumps on a sales call, and I tell my sales reps this all the time. If you jump on a sales call with somebody and you don't think our programs can help that person, do not sell them. Even for Centurion, right, which is my high level program, to join that program, it's a high multiple 4-figure investment. And I tell my reps, like, if you feel as though you can get a high multiple 4-figure investments from somebody, but you just don't think they're in the right place to benefit the most from the program, do not bring them on board. It's the same thing at the agency with my reps at the agency. Don't bring a client on board if you don't think we can deliver for them, because I don't want them to be a client. And so, really valuing and amplifying customers first, clients first. That's one of our really important principles and values that we operate on, as I say, at the agency and at the education side. And it's funny, when you really triple down on your customers and clients, you end up making a lot more money. It's just this weird thing that happens. If you deliver better results for your customers and clients, the word gets out that you are actually able to deliver on what you say. So what you then start to say holds a lot more weight, right? People tend to listen a lot more. People are more bought into what you're saying, and ultimately conversion rates are higher than than they would be otherwise, right? By not so much focusing on sales, rather focusing on customer results, client results, and just overall delivery. That's one of the biggest things that we found. And I would say that's one of the biggest lessons that I've learned during my very short time so far in business. Customers first. And this is a concept that I will apply to everything that I do. I recently just bought a house, and instantly in the house, I've gone around the house and I'm like, I want to do this, I want to do that, I want to do this. I know there's a fine line between over investing in the house and, you know, just wasting money because you're not going to get more rent for it. But even in the house, I've been going around and I've been wanting to do a few little bits here and there because I want the experience for the tenant to be as best as it can, to be as high value as it can, because then I know that I'll probably get a higher rent per week, and the retention of the tenant will probably be much higher if I just take that little extra step in caring for their experience. It's the same thing for customers, it's the same thing for clients. Retention is much higher, they come back and buy again. You know, what the number one way to increase your ROI in your business is to make more from the customers that are already purchasing from you, rather than making more customers buy, right? If you have 10 customers buy, it's way easier to get those 10 customers to pay you 2x more than to get 20 customers to buy to make 2x more, right? But the only way you'll be able to actually get your current customers to pay you more is by actually delivering on what you tell them that you'll do for them and going above and beyond routinely for them. And so that's like the biggest lesson that I've found. And there's one final lesson that I've personally found. This is a lot more selfish of me to say. It may not really apply to you that much, but it kind of ties in with the idea of the money, right? Does money buy happiness and whatnot? And as I said before, up until, for me personally, it was around 400,000 a year. I didn't really get that happy about money anymore. My happiness kind of dipped off. And so I had to change what I valued, right? I had to change what I was chasing after. Before that, it was just all about the money, because the more money I made, happy I got, so I just made more money, right? And then I used these other ideas, such as focusing on clients, focusing on customers, to make more money, right? Whereas after that, I didn't care about chasing the money anymore. What I started to value more was actually building things. I realized that I really enjoyed building things. And I think that that's for me personally. You may not be like that, but I think what you should do, again, I'm only 19, or I'm 20 now, but I made $1 million by the age of 19. So, you know, it's not life advice is what I'm trying to say. But I do think that once you get to a certain point, you need to change what you value. You need to change what you're going after, because if you don't, you'll just stagnate at whatever the number is, that you then start to not care about money that much, right? Maybe for you, that's 20,000 a month. Maybe for you, it's 10,000 a month. Maybe for you, that's 100,000 a month. Whatever the number is, there will be a point that you'll just kind of plateau if you don't change what you value, if you don't change your personal North Star, right? What you're trying to achieve. And so for me, I realized that it's not about the money anymore. It genuinely isn't. I deeply value building things, and I also deeply value delivering on the highest level for clients and customers. And I personally think what that really comes down to is the idea of the process. Again, I know it's a cringy idea, right? It's like, don't value the end destination, value the process of getting to the end destination. But over the last few months, I've really seen that that's actually a very, very true concept that has actually enabled me and is enabling me to keep going and to keep striving to make more and do more and build bigger things and whatnot. It's actually by valuing and falling in love with the process. Again, I kind of cringe at saying that because it's so typical, fall in love with the process. But once you do, you become unstoppable, because no matter what happens, it's all part of the process. And if you love it, doesn't matter what happens, you're going to keep going. You're going to keep getting after it. And so that's really it, right? There's 4 or 5 main lessons there that I've personally learned and that have really kind of made an impact, made a stamp on my thought process, where I'm kind of moving forward, like what things I'm taking from the past 2 years, what things I'm leaving behind. I think those 4 things are some of the biggest things that I've really learned, as I suppose is the best way to put it. So I hope you found value in this video. I would love to hear your thoughts in the comment section below. Let me know if you think money buys happiness or not. Let me know the lessons that you've learned along the way, whether you've gone from 0 to 10,000, 0 to 100,000, 0 to 500,000, or you're just starting out your journey. You've not signed any clients, you've not got any customers as of yet, and you're still at 0. You've still learned a lot of lessons. I'm super curious to hear your lessons in the comment section below. As always, if you found value in this video, smash the like button, subscribe to the channel, and I will see you in the next one.